Hey, Napper here. This is boarding school hockey's playoff preview. Normally, I would write a big blog post and with all these pictures and be really fancy and stuff. But this year, I thought I'd do something a little different and do a video post and put it up on YouTube. Mainly because I'm lazy. All right, let's jump right on into it. We're going to start with the Eastern Conference. Montreal and Ottawa. I like Ottawa in 5. And the reason is that I think that this series could go either way. I think that Montreal could easily win in 5. I think it's going to be a quick series. I think whoever gets the momentum is going to win this series. And I just see Ottawa coming in really strong. You take Carey Price out of the equation, and Montreal is a mediocre team at best. A few weeks ago, they played the Jets, put the backup in, and they didn't look good. Jets were able to out-hit them. Jets were able to outskate them. This team relies so much on Price, and I think if they get behind, they're going to have a hard time matching firepower with other teams. That's why I like Ottawa. Now, like I said, it could go the other way, but I think Ottawa gets the early momentum, and that leads them to victory in 5 games. Next series, we're going to look at Tampa and Detroit. I like Tampa in 6, just because Detroit, yeah, they've got firepower, but nothing like Tampa. Tampa scored the most goals in the NHL. They're a good puck possession team. They've got decent goaltending, well coached. Detroit is good. They have the experience, yet they're getting old, and I'm not sure about their goaltending. And I think that Tampa's going to be able to put goals in, and I just don't think that Detroit's going to be able to match it. So we're going to go with Tampa in 6. All right, the marquee matchup of round 1. New York Rangers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. NHL would have loved this to be a conference final. Sadly, they get it in the first round. Got to go with the Rangers in 5. I think the Rangers are going to totally dominate them. I don't even think it's going to be very close. Pittsburgh isn't the Pittsburgh they were 2 years ago. They even aren't the Pittsburgh they were a year ago. This is not a team that is built this year for the playoffs. They're dealing with a ton of injuries. Marc-Andre Fleury tends to take at least one bad goal a game, and I think that's going to be enough for the Rangers to win. I think the Rangers are just going to go out there and hit and hit and hit and just wear them down, and that's really how you beat Pittsburgh, and that's how you've always been able to beat Pittsburgh. You just wear them down. They can't match you in the physical department. All right, Washington and the Islanders. This was a tough one. Islanders started off this year great and have really backed off as the season progressed, especially since the break. I'm going with Washington in 4. Yeah, I'm calling the sweep. I just don't think the Islanders are going to be able to keep up. I think Washington's going to have some success with them. I think Washington's speed is going to be the ultimate factor in this. I think Ovechkin is actually going to show up for at least the first round, and I think Washington wins this one pretty easy. I don't think it's even close, and I think this is the end to the Nassau Coliseum, and it goes out with a whimper, not a bang. All right, moving on. We're going to go Western Conference. St. Louis, Minnesota. Minnesota, one of the great stories of the second half, Dubnyk. Amazing run at the end of the year for a goaltender, and this was a goaltender that many thought was horrible, mainly because he played with horrible teams. The great thing with Dubnyk having success is it kind of proves something that I've always said, that the team in front of the goalie actually matters. Dubnyk, when you put him in front of a good team with a good system, guess what? He played well. He's a good goalie. But with that being said, I think St. Louis wins this in 6. St. Louis has some questions in goaltending of their own, but they are big and they are physical and they're going to wear them down. And I think that they are pretty much one of the better teams in the NHL right now. They've got everything. They've got depth. They've got great size. They're nasty. They're dirty. Half the guys should have been suspended after the Jets game. Reeves is a beast out there and is just going to go and run wild all over the Wild. So I like I like the Blues in 6. Nashville and Chicago. I like the Blackhawks. Kane's coming back. Might be available for the first game. Nashville's got Pecorine. And that's about it. Nashville had a great season. No one expected them to even make the playoffs. They're one of the teams that was thought to be on the outside. Many thought them to be a bubble team. And in the end, they were one of the top teams in the NHL. I just don't see them beating the Blackhawks. Blackhawks are built for the playoffs. Blackhawks are going to hit you. Blackhawks are going to beat you. Blackhawks are going to score. They're going to beat you in speed. They're going to beat you in size. They just have to have decent enough goaltending, and they're going to win this one. So I like Blackhawks in 6. Let's go with Vancouver-Calgary. Going to be a great series. You've got Vancouver. This is Vancouver's last shot. The Sedins are getting older. The team's getting older. It's time to move on. This is their big shot for it. And nobody even thought they'd have it. Everybody thought that their last shot was 2 years ago. This is it, though. With that said, though, I think Calgary is a team of destiny right now. I love the Flames. I think the Flames are playing some amazing hockey. Yeah, their fancy numbers are horrible. Worst in the league. And yet they still made the playoffs. You know who had the best fancy stats in the league? LA Kings. And where are they? So Calgary's defying all the odds. They're getting good goaltending. They're getting scoring. Johnny Hockey's very exciting. So I like the Flames in 6. All right, moving to my team, Winnipeg Jets and the Anaheim Ducks. Of course, I'm a homer. Of course, I love the Jets. And I'm picking the Jets in 7. Not because I'm a homer, but because I think that they're going to do it. And I think that if Anaheim had to pick any team other than the Kings not to play in the first round, it would have been Winnipeg, because they don't match up well against a team like Winnipeg. And if you look at a lot of the other experts, they're picking the Jets too. And the reason is the Jets are big, nasty, fast, and they're getting amazing goaltending right now. Now, who knows? Will Pavelec be able to hold this up? I think he will. Pavelec falls also into that Dubnyk kind of thing. Everybody looks at Pavelec and goes, oh, here's this guy with horrible numbers. Career numbers are horrible. Did you ever look who he played with his whole career? He played with tire fires in front of him. He played with horrible teams in front of him. Horrible teams are going to even make an average goalie look like the worst. And that's what they did with Pavelec. Now, Pavelec's got a team and a system in front of him that enables him to take some of the pressure off. They're getting shots further out. Now, I know in that St. Louis game, the further out shot didn't help, but he's playing out of his mind right now. 3 back-to-back shutouts. He's a goalie nobody wants to meet right now. And the hardest thing to go up against is a goalie who believes. And Pavelec believes more than anybody. All right, so we've got the Jets in 7. Let's move around to second round, go back to the East. We're going to have Ottawa and Tampa. I'm going to have to go with Tampa here. And I think that finally the pressure and the scoring of Tampa is going to deflate the Hamburglar. I think the Hamburglar is pretty much, it's going to be close. I think this one could go 7. But I think that in the end, Tampa's skill is going to beat a goalie, and I just don't see Ottawa matching up well with them. I just don't see Ottawa being able to keep pace. All right, Rangers and Washington. We're going with the Rangers. I think the Rangers are the best team in the East. They're built for championships. They're built. If you had to build a hockey team from the ground up, I would take the Rangers. I like the Rangers. I think they beat Washington pretty easy, probably about 5. Could even be a sweep. Don't see it going to 6. So I would take the Rangers in that one. All right, moving back over to the West. St. Louis and Chicago. This is going to be nasty. I'm going to take Chicago, though. I think that St. Louis is good, but I think their goaltending issues is going to derail them. I think Kane will be back in his stride, and I like Chicago probably in 6, maybe 7. Moving on, Winnipeg and Calgary. Not a homer pick. I'm just thinking Winnipeg's a better team. Winnipeg has way better advanced numbers. Winnipeg has, and even though I don't think those are everything, I think at some point it's got to catch up with Calgary. And I think that Winnipeg's goaltending and Winnipeg's size is going to beat the Cinderella Flames. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you look at both these teams at the start of the year, no one thought that either one of these teams would make the playoffs. Puck Daddy said that both these teams would be out of it by Halloween. And now here they are, and they're probably going to make the semifinals, conference semifinals, both of them. It's amazing. You know, and good to get a Canadian team back in there. All right, moving over to the East for the conference finals. We're going to go with Tampa and New York, and I'm going with New York again. Like I said, New York's the best team in the East by far. Tampa's got the firepower, but I think that New York's got the defense to shut them down, and New York is going to just wear them down like they've done all year, and just that we've done to all opponents all year. Use their size, use their speed, and they've got the skill to match it up, and great goaltending. And I think they're the real deal. They're the real package there. So I'm going to take the Rangers probably in about 6. Moving over, Chicago and Winnipeg. I think this would be a great series. I think it goes 6 or 7. But ultimately, I think Chicago, with their experience and more depth, ends up beating the upstart Jets. I think Jets have a very bright future, and I think they could go far in this playoffs. But I don't see them getting any further than conference finals. And hey, even if they were to get that far, City of Winnipeg would explode with being so happy, and it would not be seen as a disappointment or anything. I just think that ultimately it comes down to depth, and I think that Chicago is going to be able to use their speed to counteract the physicality that Winnipeg brings. So that brings us to the finals, where we're going to have the Blackhawks and the Rangers. I think this is going to be one for the ages. I believe that the Rangers are a good team, best in the East, nowhere close to the West. I think that Blackhawks will be just hitting their stride, and they're going to win the Cup. I think it's going to be an amazing series. It could easily go 7 with about 3 or 4 overtimes thrown in there. But I think that Blackhawks are just, they're going to come through the, here's the deal. If they can get through the West unscathed, if they can survive St. Louis, and if they can survive Winnipeg, then I think they win the Cup. If they come in there battered and beaten, then I give it to the Rangers. But I think right now, if you look at all things equal and there's no injuries in play or anything, then you got to give it to the Blackhawks. All right, so that's my pick. I like the Blackhawks, probably in 7 with a bunch of overtimes thrown in there. We'll come back. We'll see how this video does. Maybe we'll do some more coming in. Like it if you can. Subscribe if you can. And we'll see you at the rink.